on a daily basis will have an effect on your health. Like eating junk food, even though sometimes it's okay to indulge, or candy all the time, it will leave you in an unhealthy state. Believe me, I know. But the opposite is true too. If you eat healthy, you have a better quality of life. The same thing can be applied to our spiritual lives. What are we consuming ourselves on? Is it godly? Is it pure? Is it honorable? Is it worthy of any praise? Is it of any virtue? Paul said, think on these things. That's in Philippians. But what are the conversations that we have with our friends? Are they life-giving? Are they God-honoring? Are they uplifting? Are they positive? Well, are they the exact opposite? Are they negative, dishonoring? Are they just ungodly? Basically what I'm trying to say. Well, whatever we consume ourselves, whatever we keep hearing on a daily basis, will get into us and come out of us. So we must ask ourselves, what do we prefer consuming? Do we prefer consuming the world, Netflix, the news, social media? Who are we following on social media? What celebrities are we idolizing, and then dictate our lives? You're not supposed to idolize anyone, but sadly sometimes we do without even realizing. Are they really trying to help us become better versions of ourselves? Or are they trying to indoctrinate us? Well, we have to ask ourselves, am I really still enough to hear God's voice? He speaks in a quiet voice sometimes, but we got to be still enough to listen. In John chapter 10, verses 4 and 5, in the Amplified Classic Edition says, when he brings his sheep outside, he walks on ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice, and they will never, on any account, follow a stranger, but will run away from them because they do not know voices of strangers or recognize their call. I'm determined not to listen to any voices that aren't of God, but his voice. I hear him saying now, come away with me, my daughter. Come away with me, my son. I want to show you great and mighty things that you do not know. He's trying to stir hunger in us for more of him, to know him intimately, and to know his voice, like we know the people's voices in our lives that we see on a consistent basis. But if we are distracted with the things of the world, how can we hear the voice of God? That's when we got to go back to the drawing board and get into our prayer closets and seek the face of the Lord wholeheartedly. He said, when you seek me with your whole heart, you will find me. And that's what we got to do. And if we keep flirting with the world's culture, we could be walking in the same way as the ungodly people do if we aren't on guard. And James, this is Brother James talking. In James chapter 4, verse 4, in the Passion Translation, he said, don't you realize that you have become spiritual idolaters? Don't you know that flirting with the world's values places you at odds with God? Don't you realize whoever makes themselves the world's friend makes himself God's enemy? See, I don't want to be God's enemy. I hope you don't either. Well, the same way the doctor tells us to be spiritually healthy is the same way God tells us to be spiritually healthy. The way the doctor tells us to be physically healthy is the same way God wants us to be spiritually healthy. And you know what? He wants you fit and strong for the race that God has set before you. He wants to use you in a deeper way. So don't miss the day of visitation. Come on in and sit at the feet of Jesus and eat your daily bread between you and the Lord.